Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of July 5th through the 11th. And during that time, we have a waning gibbous moon for the first part of the week. And that is a really good time of self-reflection, good time to get rid of bad habits, negative thinking, and continue working towards these things that we're working on from the beginning of the cycle. We then have the third quarter moon that comes in, and that's when things are kind of coming to fruition. So we're starting to kind of finish up those things that we started and just gaining, getting to where we're at our full potential with it. We then have the waning crescent energy for the rest of the week, and that is a time when we're starting to be thoughtful and growth oriented and kind of looking back and saying, did we accomplish those things this cycle that we set out to do? Or do we need to make adjustments and try again during the next new moon? Or did we finish up and we're going to start new things during the new moon? So, starting to think those thoughts more towards the end of the week, but keep those moon energies in mind as we move through that period of time. This will be an intuitive general reading for energies that you may or may not encounter, Aquarius. So, as always, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't here on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading is that a new start is coming. And that is the card of the new moon. So that card is definitely true. It is coming next week, but we're getting there. We're kind of wrapping things up. So, yeah, start to think about, are there things that you want to do during the new moon? I think about the new moon as kind of when we have New Year's, like instead of making a ton of resolutions, just pick one thing out, from that giant New Year's resolution list and say, you know what, for the next moon cycle, I'm going to work on making this inner change, outer change, this change in my life. I'm going to make things more positive, just make some sort of positive change. Anyway, I will stop babbling about that. My fun weekly reminder this week, Aquarius, is that you try to take some time to meditate. So this could be trying to work meditation into your daily routine, be it like 5 or 10 minutes every day, or trying to work it into your routine in longer periods. So maybe a few times a week you meditate for 45 minutes or an hour, whatever you can stand. I know if you're like me, I'm very hyper. So meditation, I really have to kind of focus at it and work my way up to it. And then if I get out of the routine of doing it, I really have to kind of force myself back into the routine. But I have found that if I can do the little 5 minute daily things and then occasionally do a longer meditation, it is very calming and very helpful to my life. So see what it does for you and just give it a shot this week. So that is my fun weekly reminder. All right, let's get into this reading. Aquarius, July 5th through the 11th. A new start is coming. Let's see what you guys have going on this week. Present energy right now, Queen of Cups. So you're in a very good, emotionally stable area right now. Just kind of floating off. Nothing is floating downstream, calm. Everything's just going well, and you're just really feeling that stability. You're also able to have understanding of the emotional reactions of people around you, where so you might not be really affected by them, but you can see like, oh, I see that upset you and I understand why. I see that you're happy about this thing and I understand why. So just kind of understanding your constituency along with yourself this week. Your current situation is that you are pushing through to wrap something up, and that is the moon energy of this week, like I said. So if a new start is coming for you next week, this 10 is definitely indicative of a finishing. So anytime we have 10s, it's kind of just final push through, getting something done. So it could be a project that you've been working on or some personal thing that you've been working on. You're just going to try to finish that up to make that space for your new start. At the root of your situation this week is the Knight of Wands. So, whatever you are doing, you're doing with a lot of passion and fire. It's something that you do care about finishing up and something that you do care about doing a good job on, but you're not very emotionally bothered by it. You're just kind of floating along, but you've got this passion thing that you're like, I want to finish this up. You're very passionate about finishing it, and I think you'll have that kind of energy and taking that action there with that. In your recent past here is the Six of Pentacles, which is about giving and receiving. So, of course, this is a card of Pentacles, which can be about material things or monetary things, but not always. Sometimes it's just giving and receiving of time, energy, space, that sort of thing. But you come into this week with this. There might have been we were in giving mode and it just kind of brought you to this final push on something that you've wanted to work on. So and it could be that you were in receiving mode, and same thing, just kind of depending on where you are right now. What is on your mind this week is the Knight of Pentacles. So, two knights, so lots of action happening, and maybe it is something financial that you're wrapping up or something at work, something material. It could just be a passion project. Maybe you're painting your bedroom and you've been very passionate about it and excited about doing it and excited about the change. So you're just going to finish it up so that you can enjoy that thing. But it's something in the material realm that looks like you're finishing and taking action, but something that you've enjoyed too, something you're passionate about. And it could be your new start. So, I'll use painting your room as an example, although, it could be anything under the sun. But so that new start would be that you finish up the painting and you get your room back together and there's new artwork and there's new furniture and new things going on. And so it is a fresh start next week. You get to sleep in your brand new bedroom. It's such a good feeling. So, whatever it is that like I'm using that as an example, it could be anything under the sun, but you are going to experience that just feeling of accomplishment of getting that thing done, and also the clean slate to be ready to start something new. What is just ahead of you this week is the Hangman. So whatever this is going on for you, you've definitely taken in and looking at things from a new perspective. So again, I'm going to use the example of just painting your bedroom. That the new perspective is that you saw an idea from its inception. Maybe you were like, I'm totally changing this room with paint and different carpet and different furniture so that it has a different feel about it. And now you get to enjoy that new perspective, that new feeling of this thing that you put your time and energy and thought into, to improve your life. So that's nice. And you've got this new perspective and new take on things. In your advice position, Aquarius, is the Three of Hearts. So, I see this as whatever this might be is letting go of the old, letting go of those old feelings. And sometimes letting go of things. And again, I'm using a bedroom as an example. So, of course, you're not going to like grieve the loss of your old bedroom too harshly. So, understand that tarot is a template. And so, whatever it is that you're having to let go of to make space for this new thing, that it is a little heartbreaking. Sometimes it's just bittersweet to say goodbye to something. But remember that you're making space for something new and something better and something that's a new start for you. So let it go, feel the feelings, let it go, and then let's move along. What is beyond your control this week is the Two of Cups. So you may have a friend or a family member or someone that's helping you out with this, and coming together. They might just take a peek in and be like, oh my gosh, your bedroom looks amazing. This change that you're doing, that's amazing, and encouraging you. But looks like you do have some sort of someone coming in to, offer kind words or just to hang out with or bounce things off of, hey, do you like this rug versus that rug, and your friend will be there to kind of just assist you. So there's someone there in your realm that is definitely helping you, to get past, the bittersweet part of it, but also to welcome in the new thing. And that's very nice to have by your side. What is your secret desire, or what are you trying to avoid? Is the Five of Pentacles, which is about feeling like an outsider. So, of course, I'm sure you're trying to avoid that in whatever the situation is for you. I call this the comparison as the thief of joy card. And that's what makes us feel like an outsider sometimes, is that we're just comparing ourselves to others. So don't do that. Just do the things that make you happy in your life. Don't worry about what other people are doing. They're doing their thing for now, and they're where they are for now. It doesn't mean that you have to be there. We're all doing our own individual thing out here, and so really, really try to not compare. Um, I'm sure you're trying to avoid feeling like an outsider. I don't think that's anyone's secret desire is, oh, I really wish to feel like that. So just don't compare. That's really, that's such a primary way for us to feel like that, to feel like, well, I'm not as good as that person, because you're comparing. You're awesome. You're doing your own personal thing that you're into at the time. What is in your outcome position is the Four of Cups. So you're feeling a little bit dissatisfied with maybe the outcome. So, you've pushed through and you've been working on this thing. Maybe you're not super happy, and maybe it's just one little thing that you need to tweak and change, or maybe it is this comparison. So don't compare. Do your thing that makes you happy. And it might just be one little tweak of whatever thing that you're working on, one little tiny little extra thing that makes you happy. Remember, a new start is coming. So, whatever it is you need to push through and wrap up and finish, but make sure that you're trying to not feel dissatisfied. Also, when this card comes up, especially at the end of a reading, I like to mention too that sometimes if we're trying to manifest something in our life, there are steps that we might have to take that doesn't seem like the end result. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, let's say that you order a carpet and for your room, this room that I'm talking about that comes in, it's not the right carpet. And you're a little disappointed about it. But it makes you, instead of shopping online, you decide, look, I can't look at the colors on there. I can't make that determination online, which is definitely how I feel about online shopping. Sometimes you need to go touch and feel. So that ends up taking you to a store where you run into an old friend. And so that's kind of a weird synchronistic, thing that happens because you're out of your disappointment makes you go and do something that runs you into something that you actually need. So I hope that makes sense, is that sometimes those disappointments lead us to a place that's a bigger happy. So maybe you reconnect with this friend and you start talking. So that's what I'm saying. Don't let those disappointments, don't get so into them that it keeps you from looking at the bigger picture of things. All right, what is hidden from you here at the bottom of the deck, Aquarius, is the King of Cups. So we started off with the Queen of Cups, which was just the Queen of Cups is the very feminine side of her suit. So the very understanding of emotions, where the King of Cups is very knowledgeable. And that's really not what you're about this week. It's really about your empathy and your ability to kind of just connect with people around you in a very, very calm, emotional manner. So keep that in mind as you're moving through the week. All right, let's see what the Soul Oracle deck says. I'm trying to think if I missed anything here, but yeah, your new start is coming, and I do feel like you're finishing something up and working through, and it just really goes along with the moon energy there. I don't see any repeaters when it comes to numbers. So, okay, final message here from the Soul Oracle deck, Aquarius, is to forgive and forget. And maybe that's here with this. There might be something that you're having to let go through. Of course, my example of remodeling your bedroom is very shallow. This could be something much deeper that's going on for you. Remember that, of course, tarot is a template. So that these are energies that can template over so many different situations for different Aquariuses. So whatever is going on in your life, whatever you need to forgive and forget, then maybe that's something you do need to work on this week. All right, let's see what you need to do in the way of self-care. Self-care for Aquarius this week. And the card for you is the card that says abundance. Being a thoughtful steward for the money you already have is the secret to creating more abundance. When you trust yourself to handle more, that's when more shows up. So remember that. You've got some sort of, again, we do have some pentacles around us here. Um, make sure you're not comparing. And when you're able to handle what you have and manage it very well, more shows up. So keep that in mind. And again, with this, don't be too disappointed. This disappointment in something the universe is offering you, maybe reach out and grab that cup and go ahead and take it and see where it might lead you. It might lead you to a surprising place. So, Aquarius, thank you so much for being here this week. I do hope there's something that you can take away and use in a positive way in your life this week. If there is, of course, drop me a comment down below. Let me know if something resonated here with you, or if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Also, if you like my reading style, hitting like and subscribe is so helpful to me. I appreciate it so much. So thank you in advance for doing either one of those. And I wish you all the best with this. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.